Good morning from my side. Welcome to the Health Nugget. I would like to present a thought this morning. On a study that was done in the last year. And the title of the study was Brighter Nights and Darker Days Predict Higher Mortality Risk, a prospective analysis of personal light exposure in 88,000 individuals. Now, it is very interesting. You might be able to read it or not. It says in the third line, whether personal light exposure predicts mortality risk has not been established, and this is what this study did now. A very interesting question. Would light influence the length of your life in any way? And so the summary of the study is the following. They took close to 90,000 people from the United Kingdom Biobank. The average age 2.4 years, slightly more female than males. And these people, they wore light sensors on their wrists for 7 consecutive days, and they collected a couple of million hours data. Then they looked over a time period of years how these people would fare health-wise. And the outcome here is the cause-specific mortality tracked over 8 years, totaled 3,750 deaths, of which almost 800 were related to heart or metabolism. Now, under analysis you read there, the light exposure was looked at in percentiles. Now, percentiles. What it means is they draw on a graph the intensity of the light. So the guys that had the highest light exposure were in the 99th to 100 percentile, and the guys who had the least light exposure were in the 0 to 1 percentile, and then you break it up accordingly. They looked at the light exposure from 7:30 in the morning till 8:30 at night, and then again from 1:30 in the morning till 6 a.m. in the morning. The results were the following. The participants exposed to the brightest night light, that is the top 10%, so they looked at the percentiles from 90 to 100. They had a 21 to 34% higher risk of all-cause mortality. So no matter what you do, what you eat, what you drink, what you think, you die earlier if you have more light at night. And a staggering 33 to 46% higher risk of death from cardiometabolic diseases. Now, this is not that surprising because we know when people eat the meals at the wrong time, for instance, if you have your main meal at 10 o'clock at night, your whole metabolism for the next day is deranged, and also your circadian rhythm, that is your daily rhythm, is disturbed because your daily rhythm dictates how your insulin, your blood sugar, your blood fats are handled. So the bottom line was, as you read here, the risk followed a clear dose-response pattern. The more nighttime light, the greater the risk. Now, there's also good news. Conversely, participants with the highest daytime light exposure had up to 34% lower risk of all-cause mortality and a 39% lower risk of cardiometabolic mortality compared to those with the lowest daytime light. Again, this followed a graded dose-responsive trend. So we have good news and bad news. And this has to do, the good news and the bad news has to do how you relate to the rhythms of light and darkness. And I won't go through the first 3 lines. I would have too much to explain here. Let's just read the last 2 lines. These relationships held even after adjusting for sleep duration and efficiency, indicating that circadian disruption itself is an independent risk factor. What they mean is you've got a light cycle and you've got a night cycle. And if you make the light cycle dark and the dark cycle light, even if you sleep enough, there is a detrimental effect. And that was also known already since decades, that people who work shift labor die earlier and have higher risk of diseases. So the implications are brighter nights due to indoor lighting, screens, or urban exposure may be silently shortening lifespans. We had our mini splits installed, and I can walk by night as if it is full moon. You know, the light is there, and you do not need any light, you know, when you go to the bathroom. The converse is also true. Dim daytime environments, that is indoor office work, fails to reinforce circadian strength and resilience. So at night, you live in a fairly light environment, and during the day, you're in a fairly dim environment. The clues for your internal clock are not given. I would just like, you know, we've got some bright lights here, and I can actually not look into that spotlight because it's so bright, but look out into the sun out there. You see the difference? That light there has a couple of thousand more lux than we have indoor here. So this light subject is emerging as a serious topic. The advice that we can take home is that avoid bright light exposure between midnight and 6 a.m. when the circadian system is most vulnerable. Don't read, don't look into your screen, don't expose yourself to light. Do not have these little lights in the plugs, you know, sort of that are baby lights that can show the way to the bathroom. It's all disruptive. And if you cannot avoid it, just get one of these eye masks, put them on so that you can sleep in total darkness. It will be a good investment. And then increase bright light exposure during the day, especially in the morning hours. That is where the rhythm is set. That is sort of like when the conductor in the orchestra, he lifts his hand and he says, okay, now we go. And if you miss that now we go, you're off rhythm. You're not synced with the internal metabolic rhythms that we run through the daytime and nighttime. So maintain regular sleep-wake patterns and minimize artificial light at night, including screens and ambient indoor lighting. These behavioral changes are low-cost, accessible, and evidence-based strategies to possibly reduce premature mortality risk and support cardiometabolic health. In Genesis 1, verse 4, it says, "And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness." Thank you, and have a bright Sabbath.